What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin Cash. Hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. I appreciate you all for being here. Thank you very much. Shout out to the Dragon Riders in the House of the Dragon, of course. Oh, I gotta fix this. Hold up now. Boom, there we go. Okay, cool. All right. We're sitting at about $395.57 with a daily high at $397. Yesterday was at $398. We're looking like we're about to do it, you guys. We're about to pierce the veil. If you remember, I forget how many days ago. Maybe it was on the day of the bottom. Maybe it was the day before. But I was saying on the 28th, I was making a day call that the 28th would be the day that we break out. So let's see if that reigns to be true. If it does end up being true, we'll chalk that up to luck, right? It's total BS. The only reason that I said that was that if we take this low here from like the beginning of this left shoulder to where the head started, which would have been here, we had 15 days in this range where the head came out here to where this is. That's, or I guess 16, sorry, 16 and 16 puts us here. So this is a very symmetrical from a time frame perspective left and right shoulder. It's also a very symmetrical left and right shoulder from a price perspective as well. Very just perfect overall. And I would definitely expect something that looks exactly like this, especially with decreasing volume all the way through the pattern on this 4-hour basis here. I would expect that we are about to break out. I think it's about to happen. If not today, maybe over the next 2 days. It's not usual. It's not the normal thing for the right shoulder to be longer, but it happens sometimes. It doesn't invalidate the pattern. The only thing that would really invalidate the pattern right now would be if we just went sideways for a longer amount of time, or if we dropped and broke to the downside, which I guess wouldn't necessarily be an invalid pattern. It would be a busted pattern at that point. It would still be an inverse head and shoulders, but there is a statistical probability it can break to the downside. Enough semantics, though. We're sitting at 395, looking to pierce the veil. We're ready to go, you guys. The area that we're looking to break is about $407 right there. Maybe even, honestly, maybe even a little bit lower right there at about $400. Psychological level, it's the area that we closed multiple days and found resistance multiple days. Anyways, let's see. If we were to break out of this pattern, you guys know where the target area is. That's at about 590, 570. It's actually like 575. I've measured it enough times to know. But if we're looking at this from a fib perspective, the target area would be around anywhere from about $504, $507 actually, to $541, somewhere in that range. I normally would, based off of this maneuver, finding resistance at the 382, finding support at the 236. I would expect that we top off, or not top off, but we find some momentary resistance at the 618. Tie that up with the fact that we found resistance all of these times, and even before this range came into existence over here, right? It is an area that we found resistance on time and time again. It would not be crazy to break through it. It also wouldn't be too crazy to kind of consolidate in this range and then continue upwards to complete the pattern's movement overall. But if we do, reject in this area and come down, that doesn't mean that these prices are off the table up at like 575 technically or higher. It doesn't mean they're off the table. It just means it's going to take a second longer. But there is a decent chance that we could break through this on the first attempt. We'll see how it looks when we get there. I would expect to some degree we're going to find some turbulence here. I don't know what it's going to look like. Maybe we consolidate. Maybe we reject back down to the 0.5 or even back down to the 382. That's completely possible, and then bounce from either of those levels. For example, over here, when we found resistance in this area, which I'm calling for us to go to now, we went down and found support literally at this 0.5, which we wouldn't have known that was the 0.5 before, because this anchor point was only drawn at this low. This price action happened beforehand, but just adding some more significance to this area, both on support and even a resistance basis over here. So I would expect, normally I would call for a 618 to the 382, but 618 to the 0.5 sounds about right to me, because it seems very significant, and I think that we're about to be in the middle of a powerful move. But I'm almost anticipating, honestly, that we just kind of consolidate up here. we don't reject. We don't come down to this area, and then we do go a step higher. And then when we pull back, we probably pull back to this area that we consolidated, and then we move up a little higher. I don't know. We'll see how it looks whenever it happens, but we're just waiting on the move right now, guys. I know it's nice. You know, I'm sure a lot of us are happy and not sweating as much as we were down here, right? If we're looking at, let's go to the BCHBTC chart. Looking at this, you know, this one was having me sweat personally for a second there, but having a nice weekly recovery. We've got 20 hours left in the week. I'm sure that we're going to have a nice wick to the downside. We might even continue to eat this up. We really do have a decent chance of closing this week green versus Bitcoin, which I do I do think is a big deal in solidifying that this is our low. We do have bullish divergence, right? We've got a low here. We've got a low here. We've got a low here. That's 1, 2, 3 lows, 4 lows, 3 lower lows, right? And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 higher lows, right? This one right here, this little tiny insignificant looking thing right there, it is a higher low, and that's based off these lows here. So that is technically, I would classify that as triple bullish divergence. It could be classified as double bullish divergence because you really only have 1, 2, 3 like discernible lows. So, you know, even if it is double bullish divergence, that's still a bullish signal in itself. And I would think that I think that we found the bottom, and we're about to move up, you guys, versus Bitcoin from a high to low. We're about to see that 1% zone being taken out, I believe, and then going upwards to like 1.2 to 1.6%, maybe even beyond that. But first things first, we need to get back above like 0.007. Or I guess it'd be 0.7%. We need to get up above there. That's our next kind of target area. And the daily RSI looks good. The 4-hour RSI looks very strong. This would actually call for immediate continuation upwards. So there really is a chance that we could close this week green. I want to look at this before we end the video. Let's just look at the ribbon. So we did have a bearish cross. I think we have, right? That looks like we have, yeah. We've got 1, 2. This would be our second week below here. You know, this is not normally a good look, but to be completely fair, we've been moving sideways. Generally speaking, whenever you move sideways, when you consolidate, indicators across the board become less reliable, and this is no exception to that. These EMAs, they become a lot less reliable. And, you know, you can see it here. You found your bearish cross, and that was basically at like the base. You pumped right into your bearish cross. You did go lower, but only slightly lower, and then you pumped really hard, right? And then you had your bullish cross, and that was basically the end of your bullish move. So very unreliable right now. So I'm not too thrown off by that, but it would be nice to see some growth and get this to flip back bullishly. And then really when you can rely on it to be reliable, more or less reliable, is when you get this separation in the ribbon. Whenever it's all banded together like this, it's because you've just been moving sideways essentially. So hopefully we get some growth. Hopefully this band can start to expand and not be so contracted, and that would also just validate the idea that we are moving up higher to new highs versus Bitcoin for the cycle, right? We can throw on the BCH pair as well just to see what's going on there on the daily. Breaking above, man, I like the way this looks. Now this is a good look. Yes, the ribbon is crossed to the downside. Yes, it is, and this is what I mean, right? We can look at it back here, for example, on the daily. Previously, we were looking at the weekly time frame, I think, on, or was it the daily time frame? On the BCHBTC pair. No, it was the weekly time frame. The daily time frame versus Bitcoin Cash, you can see we had a little moment of consolidation here, neutral. The ribbon itself wasn't as reliable, but then once we got the separation, as we started to, you know, break our consolidation phase, it became more reliable that it was in fact bearish. Here, the fact that we have tested this ribbon 3 times now, this is our 3rd attempt, and we haven't seen a continuation of the overall trend. That tells me that we might be flipping this soon. This could be the beginning, and I expect, you know, beyond everything else, beyond this, everything else that I've talked about with Bitcoin Cash over the past like couple weeks definitely leads up to the idea that we're going to break out probably right now, man. Like it really could be today. Today could be the day that we break out. If not tomorrow, whatever. It's a day late. It's not the most orthodox looking inverse head and shoulders, but I mean, to be completely fair, a day late, it's still pretty perfect. It is still pretty perfect looking. So with that, I do expect a perfect result. I think we're going to get this daily cross. I think we are going to maintain our bullish weekly look here. You know, here we've got one attempt down into the ribbon. As soon as we closed below it, we got right back up in here. we don't want to do what we just did on the daily, right? We don't want to interact with this area multiple times, because then that could imply, you know, to the reverse here on the weekly, that could imply that we're going to cross down. We want to interact with it once, like we have so far, and then get some separation and continue upwards. This is a bullish posturing right now on the ribbon, contracting like this, right? If we can move up and get some continuation in the price action, continuation in the trend, it'll let this ribbon expand. And I really do think that would be the beginning of this next move that'll take us really ultimately above $1,000, you guys. It might even take us above $2,000, and that's coming. I mean, who knows when? I definitely feel like it will be by the end of the year, but that could be, who knows? It could be by the end of fall even. It just depends. I don't think we'd be above $2,000 by the end of fall, but definitely above 1,200, potentially even around 1,700. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes, man. And that's all I have to say. So if you guys like the video, hit that like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. It's just more of the same, right? Feels boring. It feels like I'm just doing the same old rendition, but as we continue to move higher, we'll get some new data. We've just really been in this range more or less, with the exception of this drop here since June, right? So here we are, a whole month and a half later, and it's finally going to move up. I think it is. So got nothing else I want to say, and yet I'm still talking. 4 hour looks bullish, 1 hour looks bullish. The daily RSI does look bullish in itself. More bullish than bearish, but it would be very bullish, I think, to get some days closing above the 60, multiple days closing above the 60. It might start today. I'm calling for a breakout today, man. I think it's going to happen. I think we are on our way. I don't know where we'll be by the end of today. I'm not thinking that we're going to be up above 500 by the end of today. We could. You never know, right? We've started from lower and closed way higher, right? We've definitely done that in a day before. Though this was, you know, at the end of the overall move up, right? And then we consolidated and then continued. I would expect that we're just kind of marching our way up, but this is the beginning of that next level back up here, right? Taking out these lower highs, starting the new trend up, getting ready to ultimately continue the trend that we've been in all cycle, and just continue moving up, man. Yeah. Anyways, I'll see you guys on the next one. Hit that like button. Bye-bye.